You probably clicked on this video because you feel like you can improve your conversation skills and you want to be able to have more open conversations with others. In this video, I'll walk you through the steps on how to have better dialogue with others and just be a better conversationalist. My name is Jackson, and I help young men get on self improvement, not of the world, but self improvement that will help you become a man of God. So just today, I had to meet up with some classmates of mine to work on some music, and one of the girls in there, I had a bit of a rough start with getting along with her just because she's, I don't know, I would just say just a modern girl, right? No disrespect towards her. That's just kind of her personality, and sometimes that clashes with mine a little bit. Well, anyways, I try to still be open when talking with others, and I think you should do the same. That's probably the first step is to always be willing to let others change and still be willing to have good dialogue with others, even if in the past maybe you've gotten into an argument or you've had a little bit of a rough relationship with them. So I talk with her, I ask her, what have you been up to today? And she starts talking about how she was reading this book. So I'm like, okay, hey, so what's this book about? Like, do you like it? And I will start asking these very open-ended questions about this book that she's been reading. And next thing I know, she's giving me an in-length detail about the whole story. It's the second book, all the character arcs, all of this stuff, really in depth. And I just start getting her talking about this book. And it reminded me of this point that How to Win Friends and Influence People made that talks about how you should ask these very open-ended questions and get the other person who you're trying to have a conversation with to talk about themselves and really talk about their passions. Because there's two things people really enjoy talking about. One, it's themselves, and two, it's their passions, which can kind of be about themselves or their hobby. And that's what you need to be implementing in your life. You need to be trying to ask these questions that really open up and really gauge this conversation and open the floor up for this person to start talking about themselves and talk about their passions. It makes people really feel like you're a great conversationalist, even though they end up doing more of the talking when you open up the mic for them to just kind of throw it all out there. Throw it all out there. So you might say to yourself, okay, like, I'm going to ask more open-ended questions, but what happens if the person isn't very good at talking? A lot of people, they don't realize that they're kind of just bad at having conversations with other people. So I would say you want to ask these open-ended questions, and then if they're not really gauging, if they're not really giving a whole lot into the conversation, that's kind of your cue to just back off and be like, okay, I'm just not going to have a great conversation with this person. I found that even with people who aren't very good at having conversations and kind of just like to talk a lot about themselves and not really ask open-ended questions, I found that even they will kind of open up and you can still guide the conversation just by asking these open-ended questions and getting them to kind of talk about themselves. Um, and this is also like an amazing dating tactic. I would say it's good for just conversing with people as well. But when you start talking to girls, um, you know what? Honestly, like this would be better dating advice than just conversation skills. Um, dude, yeah, like when you go on a date, literally, if you ask the girl these super open-ended questions and very deep too, so don't just be like, oh, what have you been doing today? What do you like to do? Be like, why, why do you feel drawn to this thing? What do you want out of life? What are your end goals, right? These very like broad, open-ended questions that are really deep because you will end up finding out a lot about this woman who you're going out with by asking these sorts of questions. Some of the best dates that I've gone on were the ones where I just sat down and I asked these open-ended questions, and then I just sat and I just listened to the girl talk. I remember I went on one day with a girl, and she literally started talking about how uh, I'm not gonna go into detail, but she ended up revealing some insane family history just because I was asking these open-ended questions and I was kind of gauging it, right? So How, okay, so what are some practical steps, I guess you might be wondering.